Washington.
I'd been playing guitar for about 3 years before I started a band. I couldn't find anyone in my hometown to play with until I met Chris. Dale Crover, the drummer for the Melvins, and I made a demo in like 85, late 85, and at my aunt's house on a 4-track. And I had the tape for about a year or so, and I was always trying to push it on my friends, you know, to try to get them into starting a band with me. And one day Chris, after probably hearing it a few times, just decided, hey, this is pretty good.
I didn't see much future for those guys. They're pretty much bordering on retarded, bums, basically, unemployed, and rock and roll made them millionaires.
Things came together really fast. Within a week, we had a set. I think we had like a half-hour set.
It was just so amazing, you know, to actually play. I mean, I'd heard these songs because they were recorded, but all the instruments were dubbed, you know. To play them live in a room, you know, it was amazing. It was like the most incredible thing I've ever done.
At that time, I lived in Tacoma and Kurt lives in Olympia. And my mom had this empty apartment above her. She owned the building where this beauty salon was in. And we spent a week down there before we went to record Bleach and just hashed it out up there all night long.
We wrote so many songs in that week, right before we recorded, that we were excited about the new songs. We wanted to record them. But initially, we were really into experimental, noisy, like Butthole Surfers kind of music, you know. But we did feel a little bit of pressure, a little bit of intimidation by the whole Seattle scene because everyone was so heavily into this retro 70s thing. And we wanted to just record the few new songs that we had and re-record most of the stuff that was on the Fecal Matter tape. And that would have been the album. You know, it would have been a lot more like Incesticide, but we just happened to write so many new songs, you know, that we just put it on Bleach. And they just happened to have been more in the 70s vein, you know.
We were just making records like everybody else was. We were making Jack and Dino produced records recorded at Reciprocal Studios on an 8-track. Coming from Aberdeen, it was like, you know, just to go drive around the country, like go to New York, that was an achievement right there. It's such a big goal that I, you know, couldn't see much far past that, but you do that for a couple of times. You know, well, what's like going to Europe, and then, you know, then, wow, Sonic Youth and Dinosaur, they all signed to major labels. You know, why don't we? So that was something else to look forward to.
Essa foi a versão antiga de In Bloom, quando o Chad Channing era o baterista do Nirvana. No próximo bloco, você vai saber tudo sobre o novo baterista da banda, o Dave Grohl, e dar uma olhada no álbum Nevermind, que fez muito sucesso no início dos anos 90. Fica ligado.
Have to deliver the goods in a really professional way. I think they decided that was when it was time to let go of Chad Channing.
For a long time, we weren't very happy with Chad's drumming, basically. I mean, he has his own unique style, and it's appropriate for a lot of the songs that we wrote, but not for what we really wanted to do at the time. We just wanted to move into more of a pop world, you know, at the time, and his style just didn't fit.
David Grohl grew up in Washington, D.C., and quickly joined a band called Scream, who were one of Washington, D.C.'s best hardcore bands. And the bass player abruptly left, just quit, and Dave was stranded.
We saw Dave down in San Francisco and thought, wow, what a great drummer. And then he was talking to Buzz from the Melvin and said, oh yeah, Nirvana needs a drummer. So he called up and said, yeah, come on up, and he did. And it was really cool. He was just really fluent and just really heavy and really energetic.
Dave added so much more diversity. You know, not only did he have perfect metronome timing, he hit really hard. He was able to go in between all the dynamics that we wanted to experiment with, and it was just perfect.
I just kind of flew up here and hung out for a few days, and I saw him play a show. And I'd learned the songs off the records, and we practiced like almost every night of the week. And that was months, too. That was for 4 months or something, or 5 months. We practiced so much and write a song almost every practice.
I call Nevermind the rite of passage record, where you get signed to a major label, you get an advance, and then you get a producer, and then you go to Los Angeles and you record in the studios. That's like $1,200 a day, and you come out with like a big record.
The momentum and excitement at the time was so great because everyone sensed that the album was going to do pretty well, you know. There was just a feeling in the air, you know. There was just like this new thing happening, and no one could quite pinpoint it, but we knew that we were a part of it, you know.
Essa versão ao vivo de Smells Like Teen Spirit foi gravada logo antes do lançamento do álbum Nevermind e está no documentário 1991 The Year Punk Broke, sobre a turnê europeia do Nirvana com o Sonic Youth. A gente vai falar mais dessa turnê e do enorme e até surpreendente sucesso que Smells Like Teen Spirit trouxe ao Nirvana. Tudo isso daqui a pouco.
I think most of the big deal happened while we were in Europe.
The way I see it is this tour, it's like us and Nirvana and all the other bands that we're going to be playing with. To us, it's like, I know there's kids out there and they have the same feelings.
To be asked to go on tour by a band like Sonic Youth was like a dream come true, you know. I mean, I still can't describe what I felt. You know, it was like, wow, what an honor.
That was great.
Kim, you were amazing.
Kevin Costner.
You were amazing.
Kevin Costner. Hey, it's Kim, Steve, Thurston. Hey, it was great. You know, it's a fabulous show tonight.
You guys were really neat.
I remember when we put that song together, it's like we look at each other and goes, God, this is kind of a Pixies ripoff, isn't it? Like we didn't even we thought there's bigger hits on that record, like Lithium and In Bloom, and so we recorded Teen Spirit, and I remember Kurt put the vocals down, and then the next day I walked in the studio, and Butch is like, oh, you guys gotta listen to this, and he had like a rough mix of it, and he just cranked it. And we were like, wow, this really rocks. It was really rocking song, really powerful, and it just really turned things upside down.
Smells Like Teen Spirit tornou-se verdadeiro hino do rock. Em janeiro de 92, ela ajudou a colocar o álbum Nevermind no topo da parada da revista Billboard, destronando o desbotado rei do pop, Michael Jackson. A grande hora tinha chegado e ela era bem maior do que o próprio Nirvana esperava.
If you really, deep down, never expected any of this to happen, then when it actually happens, you just kind of look at it as a joke, kind of. Like, it's pretty funny when you think about it.
Just kind of chill out. That's what I say, really, you know, like voice of a generation. I mean, look, you know, Bob Dylan, he was given that, but he passed it off, because who's gonna take that on, you know, and pull it off without being some total megalomaniac demagogue or something.
I wanted to play drums, you know, ever since I got my first Beatles record, I wanted to play drums in a band. I wanted to have the adoration of John Lennon, but have the anonymity of Ringo Starr, you know? I didn't want to be the front man. I just wanted to be back there, but, you know, be a rock and roll star at the same time.
With Nevermind selling unexpected multi-millions of copies worldwide, there was suddenly all kinds of money around, enough to finance the making of Nirvana's first truly deluxe video, Come As You Are.
That was the first, like, sort of big production video, like big production where we came in and they actually had built this elaborate set. It was very grand, and very, it was really beautiful. And there was like thousands of gallons of running water all over the place, and a huge chandelier. And I remember Kurt swinging from the chandelier, and he had on this like harness or something. I just remember him saying like, "Let me down, I'm gonna puke."
Esse foi o Nirvana com a música Drain You nos estúdios da MTV americana em 92. Junto com o repentino sucesso do Nirvana, começaram a piorar os problemas de estômago do Kurt Cobain. Durante anos, ele disse estar à procura de um remédio que aliviasse as terríveis dores que ele sentia. Nessa busca desesperada, acabou se viciando em heroína.
I was in pain. I mean, I was in pain for so long that I didn't care if I was in a band. I didn't care if I was alive, you know. And it just so happened that I came to that conclusion at a time when my band became really popular, you know. I mean, it had been going on and building up for so many years that I was, you know, suicidal. I mean, I just didn't want to live. So I just thought, if I'm going to die, if I'm going to kill myself, I should take some drugs, you know. May as well become a junkie, because I felt like a junkie every day, you know. You know, waking up, starving, forcing myself to eat, you know, barfing it back up. It's like, you know, just imagine trying to eat your 3 meals a day and just concentrating and just crying at times, just like, I'm in pain all the time, you know. And being on tour was a lot worse, too, you know, it made it even worse.
I started playing the song, and all of a sudden the amp was just so overdriven, it started cutting out, and it just died. And so instead of standing there going, duh, I thought I'd do the sensational bass toss. I've got some pretty good air before, so I like threw it up there, and I had some beers and stuff, and maybe was a little nervous, and I caught it wrong. It just like popped me on the head, and it just kind of fell down, and I just ran off stage. And Kurt didn't even know what happened, and I'm like walking off stage. He sees me and he kicks me in the ass as I walk off stage, of all things. And then he didn't know what happened. After he told me, he goes, "I'm sorry I did that. I didn't know what happened."
The winner is Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit.
The winner? Nirvana!
Just 3 weeks before the Video Music Awards show, Courtney Love gave birth to the only child she and Cobain would ever have, a daughter they named Frances Bean. At first, the baby's arrival seemed to be just the sort of stabilizing force that Cobain needed in his life.
Right when she was born, that's what was the beginning of taking us out of the slump, because she was like this beam of optimism that came up. Like all of a sudden, there was just all kinds of weird stuff going on, and then all of a sudden there's this baby born, and I think it was like something really, really, really positive that came out of some kind of hard times, and it was kind of a blessing, and I was really glad to see her there, and everybody was, and Kurt and Courtney were proud parents, and it was really good. It was the best thing that could have happened, to tell you the truth.
But Cobain's personal problems hadn't been banished by the birth of his daughter, only briefly obscured. Then came the publication in Vanity Fair magazine of an interview with Courtney Love in which it was suggested that she had taken heroin while pregnant. Love furiously denied that assertion, insisting that she had stopped taking heroin immediately upon learning she was pregnant.
It's been really damaging to us, to tell you the truth. It's really affected my personal life a lot. I mean, the woman in Vanity Fair came into our house with an agenda. She knew exactly what kind of article she was going to write before she even met us before. She knew that she hated Courtney because of the rumors she'd heard, and she believed them and decided to write a crucifixion piece. It's as simple as that. I mean, we've challenged her with coming up with the tapes to prove those quotes, and she can't do it. And all the quotes were by inside sources, and no names were made, you know, so it was obviously just a, you know, a crucifixion piece, but I understand that a lot of people have been really affected by that, you know, they believe it. I'm really surprised.
Apesar da Courtney Love insistir que não era uma mãe viciada, uma sentença judicial determinou que o bebê fosse tirado dela e ela levou mais de um mês para recuperar a custódia da filha. Nesse período aí bem sombrio, o Nirvana aproveitou para gravar o videoclipe da música In Bloom, que mostra uma característica até então desconhecida da banda, o senso de humor. Fica por aí que a gente volta já com o tributo ao Nirvana.
But then Nirvana went to Europe, and somehow everything went wrong. Cobain got the flu, dates were canceled. Recuperating in Rome, he drank alcohol on top of a prescription sedative and collapsed in a coma.
Kurt Cobain are clearly and dramatically improving. Yesterday has been hospitalized at the Rome American Hospital in a state of deep coma and respiratory failure. Today, he is recovering from the pharmacological coma due not to narcotics, but the combined effect of alcohol and tranquilizer that had been regularly prescribed by doctors.
Disseram que foi um acidente, mas por trás dos comunicados médicos e da divulgação da imprensa sabia-se que a vida do Kurt Cobain estava afundando vertiginosamente. Mais uma vez, com depressão, ele voltou a se drogar. Os amigos tentaram convencê-lo a largar a droga. Courtney Love ameaçou abandoná-lo se ele não procurasse ajuda. Kurt Cobain, então, acabou se internando numa clínica de reabilitação em Los Angeles, na cidade onde a Courtney Love estava preparando para lançar o primeiro álbum do Hole. Um dia, ele saiu para fumar um cigarro e desapareceu por 6 dias. Ele voltou para Seattle e o último lugar onde foi visto foi esse bar. Na manhã do dia 8 de abril, um corpo foi encontrado na casa do Kurt Cobain em Lake Washington, Seattle. Ele estava vestindo jeans e tênis e no chão, ao seu lado, estava a sua carteira de motorista. Ele se drogou, escreveu uma carta e se suicidou. A MTV soube da notícia poucas horas mais tarde.
Hi, I'm Kurt Loder with an MTV News special report. The body of Nirvana leader Kurt Cobain was found in a house in Seattle on Friday morning, dead of an apparently self-inflicted shotgun blast to the head. Police found what is said to be a suicide note at the scene, but have not yet divulged its contents. Cobain, who was 27, had reportedly been missing for several days. The Los Angeles Times reported on Wednesday that Nirvana was breaking up and that Cobain was planning to undergo drug rehabilitation. A source close to the band told MTV News earlier this week that while that story sounded bad, it was better than what was, quote, really going on. That comment remains to be clarified. Cobain's body was found in a house in Seattle where he had previously lived. It was discovered by an electrician who had showed up at around 8 a.m. to do some work at the house. He looked in a window and said he recognized the body on the floor as Cobain's. Before calling police, the electrician first called a local radio station to break the news. Although at press time, police were declining to officially identify the body as that of Cobain, pending notification of next of kin, a reporter for the Seattle Post-Intelligencer who was on the scene ID'd the body as Cobain's, and several other news outlets have gone public with that identification.
The electrician was going to do some repair work. He went up to above the garage where there's a small cottage above the garage, and when he looked inside, he saw a man lying on the floor. It was obvious this man is dead from a shotgun wound to the head. Now, there was a suicide note left inside the house.
There was a note, there was a planter that had been dumped upside down in the dirt at root ball, and it was laying there on the counter with a full-size sheet of paper, the pin stuck through it that was a suicide note, apparently, from what the officer said.
Did you get a chance to read it?
I only read the bottom lines out of it. Bottom 2 lines said, I love you, to someone.
What did you feel when you heard the news on the radio?
I wanted to cry, and then I got really mad, really ticked.
Nirvana is like the only music I listen to nowadays. Them and Scream Trees, but that's about it. I mean, for some people like me, it's gonna suck.
I'm very surprised. I mean, from what I know, he's very young, very talented. I mean, I'm shocked. He could have gone so much more places with his talent. I mean, he had great music, great talent. I'm just very shocked.
I sort of admired him, and I really like Nirvana, and I think it's a real shame that he did it.
Everybody is real upset about it, and it's a shock. We can't understand, we can't believe that it happened. It's unbelievable. And this is one man that will not be forgotten.
It's really, what is really interesting is that a lot of the younger kids that are calling, I don't think have ever experienced anything, and they're young. I mean, we're talking 12, 11, 12, 13, have never experienced anything like this before, even though there's violence and death in the papers every day. Somebody like Kurt Cobain going, it doesn't compute.
They did not play according to the rules, and they came at a time when the rules were strangling the music. I think they just blew the 80s nonsense apart. They knocked Michael Jackson off the charts. What better metaphor for what he could have accomplished? He had so much to give, and he had so much left to write. And I think in a way, and I don't mean this speciously at all, but I think he was the closest that his generation came to a John Lennon, in that, he was writing very much from the heart, very directly, and he didn't play according to the rules. And the thing that I found really disturbing was the number of letters that I got after my original review of In Utero, in which I made that reference. People were saying, well, how dare you compare him to John Lennon? I say, look at their life stories, listen to the music. If you don't see the connection, then you're just not paying attention. The thing is, people say, well, what did he say to his audience? Well, he was his audience. Yeah. In a way, I really feel that this is a great loss. This is not just some, rock star who couldn't handle success and took an easy way out. I think he really shows that there's a generation out there that really has to come to grips with their future. And in many ways, I think a lot of older people and parents really shouldn't look at this as like, this is a rock star, couldn't handle it. I say, this is your kids. Think about it.
I've been begging for help, Friday, for help, suicide and psychiatric problems. I'm also a small-time musician, and I can feel from where Kurt Cobain was coming from, because I have not found anybody yet since Friday morning to help me.
I started getting faxes that evening into the next day, into Saturday. I was getting faxes from kids faxing me. I'm like, what do I do? I don't know. What do you do? I don't know what to tell you. Stay alive.
If you know someone who's feeling suicidal or you feel suicidal yourself, take it seriously. Try to find someone you trust, someone you can talk to. If it's not in your own family or amongst your own friends, reach out to a religious group, a community group, a social or mental health organization. Do not keep it to yourself. Do not wait for it to pass. It doesn't mean you're going to die from suicide. It means you have a problem and you should address it. Most people who attempt suicide or die from suicide, it's not that they want to die. And as his own writings talked about, it's that they can't handle the pain that they're experiencing. So what we do in suicide prevention is focus on the pain and the thoughts and feelings and try to help people get through that. And then life, if it's not perfect, it's still something that has options and possibilities. And that's what we're trying to do.
2 dias depois que o corpo do Kurt Cobain foi encontrado em Seattle, os fãs locais se reuniram numa vigília de luto. Pouco tempo após a cerimônia, Courtney Love foi ao local da vigília para conversar com os fãs.
Yeah, really go from the best spiritual place you can, for his sake, because he doesn't want to be known for being a drug addict, and he doesn't want to be known for being a loser or anything that Rush Limbaugh called him. We all know what he gave to us, and those baby boomers are not supposed to understand, That's what people like Rush Limbaugh and Andy Rooney exist for, Kurt, to irritate them. He touched all of our lives, and that's people over 32. They're not meant to understand what Kurt was, like I said, he was put here to irritate them. These people grew up in the 60s with the generation gap, and now they're really pissed that there's another one because they refuse to grow old, And something good can come out of Kurt's death. I don't know what it is yet, but something good can. Something good can. I mean, Kurt changed the music industry completely. He turned it on its ass, He changed the way, If it had happened to me, Kurt would be sitting out here in this park with you too. He never made himself inaccessible to people. He never ever did any rock star bullshit. If you stopped him on the street, even if you looked like you just stepped off an airplane, you're a stewardess, he'd still talk to you for 10 minutes. You know, he was like so good that way and had no attitude. And I wish he'd had a little more attitude because that might have helped. But what would have helped more than anything was no guns. So just try and do that, all right? All right. Thank you. I'm sorry if I'm making you more upset.
É uma grande pena que o Kurt Cobain, cuja música fazia sentido para tanta gente, não conseguisse encontrar um sentido na sua própria vida. Mas a sua música permanece em 4 incríveis álbuns do Nirvana. É isso que a gente vai guardar para sempre. Pena que o Kurt Cobain não tenha conseguido nada para si mesmo.